The Singularity is no longer a forecast. It is actively conducting layoffs.
Yeah, that is the brutal reality check we are starting with today.
Exactly. And before we even get into it, if you want to survive the shift, hit that thumbs up button right now. It helps the algorithm know you are one of the intelligent ones.
Definitely a good survival strategy in this landscape.
Okay, let's just get right into the room. It is Friday, February 27th, 2026, and we are looking at a snapshot of a future that has quite literally already arrived.
We are doing a deep dive into the Innermost Loop by Dr. Alex Wisner-Gross today.
Right, and if you track Peter Diamandis and his moonshots, you already know Dr. Wisner-Gross. He is the physicist and computer scientist who usually provides the deep data behind all that optimism.
But today is a bit different. This does not just feel like optimism.
No, it really doesn't. It feels like we are documenting a fundamental restructuring of reality.
I think that is the only way to describe the scale of what is in this report.
Our mission today is to parse the signal from the noise in a week where the architecture of cognition compressed, the smartphone began its death spiral, and legitimate demons appeared in Pentagon reports. We have a massive stack of data to get through.
It has been a week of profound acceleration. You are totally right. And when you look at the data curated here, you realize we aren't just watching technology improve in a linear way anymore.
Right, it's exponential.
Exactly. We are watching the economy, the physical world, and even our spiritual frameworks reorganize themselves around artificial intelligence. It is systemic.
Let's start with the money. Because nothing says structural change like a massive shift in how companies value human beings. We have to talk about Block.
The Block layoffs. This is the headline that stopped everyone in their tracks this week.
It was unavoidable.
They cut 4,000 people. That is roughly half their workforce, gone in a single motion.
Half the workforce. I mean, usually when a company cuts 50% of its staff, it is a massive sign of distress. It's a going out of business sale. It's a panic move to stop the bleeding. But looking at the charts, that is not what happened here, is it?
No, quite the opposite. And this is the terrifying part for the average worker right now. The market actually rewarded this purge with a 24% spike in the stock price after hours.
24% just for firing people.
Yes, that is the signal you need to pay attention to. This wasn't a desperate move to save cash. It was a highly strategic move to increase velocity. The stated goal from leadership was literally to move faster with smaller teams.
Using AI, of course.
Precisely using AI. And here's the metric that matters, the number that is going to keep every single CEO up at night this year. Block is now targeting over $2 million in gross profit per person.
$2 million per person. Let's break that down for everyone.
Yeah.
How does that compare to the old world we used to live in?
It is 4 times their pre-COVID efficiency. If you look in the tech sector historically, getting to $500,000 or $600,000 in revenue per employee was considered elite. Google, Facebook, they hovered around those numbers during their golden eras.
Right.
But Block is saying, we can do 2 million.
That is staggering. So we are seeing a totally new benchmark. It used to be that you hired more people to do more work. Scaling meant headcount. Now the logic is completely inverted.
You hire fewer people, equip them with massive intelligence, and you expect 4 times the output. It is the great repricing of human labor.
The great repricing. I like that phrase.
The market is basically screaming that the old model-bloated headcounts, multiple middle management layers, the whole project manager class that just coordinates people is a liability now. The new asset is a lean, AI-augmented team, and this is not just happening at Block.
No, it's everywhere. Dr. Wisner-Gross calls it the SaaS massacre. We are looking at the software sector, specifically the State Street Software ETF.
Which has lost a combined $1.6 trillion in market cap this year.
$1.6 trillion. With a T. That's an economy-size hole. That is the GDP of a G7 nation just vanishing from the books in a matter of months.
It represents a brutal changing of the guard. Investors are repricing legacy SaaS, your traditional software-as-a-service companies, against AI-native replacements. Think about it from a business owner's perspective.
Okay.
Why pay $30 a month per user for a clunky CRM software when an autonomous agent can just manage your customer relationships for a fraction of the cost, and without you having to navigate menus?
Exactly. You just talk to the agent.
Right. The market realizes that a lot of the software we used to pay monthly subscriptions for can now be done better by an agent or a generative model. Old software is withering. But, and this is key for you to understand, where the old software dies, new intelligence is getting hired.
And not just by tech bros in Silicon Valley either. This was the part of the source material that really threw me for a loop. Norway.
The Sovereign Wealth Fund. $2 trillion, literally the biggest piggy bank in the world.
The Norwegians are using Claude.
They are using Claude to screen investments for reputational and ethical risk.
Okay, stop and think about that for a second. We are talking about a nation's wealth, a sovereign entity that is known globally for being incredibly meticulous about ethics. And they are outsourcing the moral judgment of where to put that money to a machine.
It is outsourcing moral judgment at a sovereign scale. You are right to pause on that. It's massive. We used to think of ethics as the one thing you absolutely could not automate.
Right, you need a human soul for that.
Exactly. You needed a human to look at a company and say, is this good? Is this bad? Does this align with our deeply held cultural values? But now, Norway has decided that Claude can process that nuance better, or at least faster and more consistently, than a building full of highly paid human analysts.
It raises a massive question, though. If the AI says a company is unethical, based on what data? Whose ethics are we talking about here? Is it the ethics of the Californian developers who tuned the model, or the ethics of the Norwegian people?
That is the ultimate friction point right now. We call it the alignment problem, but usually we talk about it in terms of, don't kill all humans.
Terminator stuff.
Right.
Right.
But this is the subtle alignment problem. Don't invest in this energy company because it violates a specific ethical parameter. If the AI hallucinates an ethical violation or weighs a factor differently than a human would, you literally move billions of dollars based on a black box decision.
We will definitely get back to the values war later in the deep dive because the Pentagon has some very strong thoughts on that too. But I want to pivot to the hardware for a minute because while the software is getting smarter and making these high-level decisions, the things we hold in our hands are, well, they are disappearing.
The death of the smartphone.
I feel like tech journalists have been predicting this for a decade. But Dr. Wisner-Gross points out that smartphone shipments are expected to drop 12.9% down to a decade low. Is this just market saturation or is something structural happening here too?
Oh, it is highly structural. It is not just that people are bored with phones or that the new iPhone isn't exciting enough. It is that the resources, specifically the memory and the silicon fabrication, are being cannibalized. The entire supply chain is shifting. We are moving from the era of the pocket rectangle to the era of the data center.
Meaning the intelligence isn't going to live in your hand anymore.
Exactly. For the last 15 years, the primary driver of tech hardware was the device in your pocket. Better cameras, faster processors in the phone itself. Apple was the ultimate kingmaker because they controlled that rectangle.
Right, they drove all the silicon innovation.
But now, the intelligence is entirely in the cloud. You don't need a supercomputer in your pocket if you have a 6G connection to a massive supercomputer in a server farm somewhere. The generational handoff has occurred. The phone is just becoming a dumb glass terminal. The actual brain is elsewhere.
So if the money isn't going into making the iPhone 25, where is it going? Because all that capital has to flow somewhere.
It is going to the physical plant, the actual heavy infrastructure of intelligence. We are seeing a massive, unprecedented build-out of what we in the industry call compute.
The source mentions LillyPod, which sounds cute like a flower or a smart speaker toy, but looking at the specs, it sounds like an absolute monster.
It is a monster. This is a collaboration between Eli Lilly, the massive pharma giant, and NVIDIA. It is a DGX Super POD.
Break that down for us. What is a Super POD in plain English?
Think of it as a singular, massive, interconnected AI brain. It is packed with B300 systems, which means it houses 1,016 Blackwell Ultra GPUs working in tandem.
Over 1,000 of the best chips on Earth.
Yes. It has over 9,000 petaflops of computing power. To give you some context, a single petaflop is a quadrillion calculations per second. This machine can do 9,000 quadrillion calculations every single second.
But it is not for running ChatGPT.
Yeah.
You aren't using this to write marketing emails.
No, absolutely not. It is dedicated entirely to drug discovery. This is a machine specifically designed to simulate biology at scale. We aren't just processing language anymore. We are processing the physics of molecules.
Wow.
It finds cures, it models protein folding at a speed and fidelity that human researchers simply couldn't dream of. This is exactly why the smartphone is dying, because those chips are infinitely more valuable here, curing diseases and simulating biology, than they are rendering Candy Crush in your pocket.
That is a brutal trade-off when you phrase it like that, but it makes complete sense. The utility of a GPU in a cancer research lab is undeniably higher than in a teenager's pocket.
And the broader market knows it. The source notes that CoreWeave's revenue grew 110% year over year. Dell expects their AI server revenue to effectively double by fiscal 2027.
Yeah.
Everyone is buying the shovels for this gold rush. We are pivoting the entire industrial base of the planet toward building these brains.
And the politics of silicon are getting incredibly intense. It is not just companies fighting for chips anymore. It is nation-state level strategy. You have Meta Facebook signing a multi-billion-dollar deal to rent Google's TPUs.
Which is fascinating because historically they are bitter rivals.
Right, they compete fiercely for eyeballs, for ad dollars, for talent.
But the need for compute is so existential right now that Meta is forced to diversify. They cannot rely solely on NVIDIA for their survival. They need Google's chips too. It is like Ford having to rent an engine factory from Chevy because they just can't build engines fast enough to stay in business.
And you have sovereign nations getting deeply involved too. Japan's Rapidus just secured $1.7 billion to reach 2-nanometer mass production by 2028. Every country, every major corporation is trying to secure their own independent supply of intelligence.
It is the new oil.
It really feels like we're watching a global game of Risk. But instead of moving armies, they are placing GPU clusters on the map.
That is a very apt analogy. If you control the compute in this decade, you control the future. Full stop.
So we have the hardware exploding. We have the economics completely shifting. But the software, the actual mind of the machine, Dr. Wisner-Gross says it is compressing. This part got a little technical in the notes, so help us unpack it. What exactly does he mean by self-distillation?
This is perhaps the most technical, but also the most critical part of the entire update. We are seeing a literal compression of cognition. Okay, imagine you have a massive genius-level AI model. We will call it a teacher model.
Okay.
It knows everything. It has read the entire internet. It can reason through anything. But because it is so huge, it is slow. And it is incredibly expensive to run.
Like a tenured professor who is brilliant but takes 3 hours to answer a simple yes or no question.
Exactly. What researchers have found is a way to distill that massive model. They use the big teacher model to actively train a much smaller student model. And the breakthrough is that the student doesn't just memorize the facts, it learns how the teacher thinks. They can turn these massive foundation models into multi-token predictors.
And what does that mean for performance?
The result is a specialized model that decodes 3 times faster, but with under 5% loss in overall accuracy.
So you get 95% of the genius, but at 300% of the speed.
And at a tiny fraction of the energy cost, that changes the economics all over again because suddenly high-level intelligence becomes cheap enough and fast enough to put literally everywhere. You can put it in a car dashboard, in a toaster, in a pair of augmented reality glasses.
And then there is Sakana. They're doing something called compiling documents to weights. This sounded straight up like magic to me when I read it.
This is revolutionary for how AI handles information. Usually, if you want an AI to know a specific document, say a technical manual or an entire law book, you have to put that text into its context window.
Yeah.
You have to essentially feed it the text every single time you ask it a question.
Which takes up a ton of space and compute. It is like having to reread the entire book every time before you answer a question about chapter 2.
Right, it's inefficient. But Sakana demonstrated that they can compile that document directly into the model's weights via hypernetworks.
So it doesn't just read the book. It effectively learns the book permanently.
Yes. It becomes a permanent part of the model's long-term memory without bloating the context window at all. It is durable memory. It is the exact difference between holding a reference book in your hand and having that entire book permanently memorized. If you have it memorized, you can recall it instantly, without effort.
That is wild. It implies that these models are going to become highly specialized experts instantly. You just upload the Harvard Law Library into the weights, and now it is a top-tier lawyer forever without needing a massive server to parse the documents every time.
Correct. And we are seeing the quality-latency trade-off completely collapse everywhere we look. Usually in tech, you have to pick, do you want it smart or do you want it fast?
The old project management triangle: fast, good, cheap, pick 2.
Not anymore. The source highlights LM Kruger's QED Nano. It is a compact 4 billion parameter model. In the world of frontier AI, 4 billion is tiny. It is small enough to run entirely locally on a standard laptop.
And what can this tiny model actually do?
It writes Olympiad-level mathematical proofs. It is approaching frontier performance, the performance of the biggest, smartest models on Earth, but in a tiny, highly efficient package.
And Google's Nano Banana too?
Same exact story. Fusing pro-level reasoning with flash speed. We are completely collapsing the trade-off between quality and latency.
So practically speaking, for you listening to this, this means the waiting time is over. The buffering circle while the AI thinks about your prompt, that is going away permanently.
It means instant, genius-level intelligence, available locally without any lag. It means the AI feels less like a tool you type into, and more like a fluid voice in your ear that easily keeps up with your own thoughts.
Which brings us perfectly to where this intelligence is actually showing up, because it's not just sitting in the lab anymore. It is clocking in. Segment 4, Agents in the Wild.
The agents are definitely here. And they're doing far more than just chatting. They are working autonomously.
Anthropic just released Claude Cowork.
Yes. This feature introduces natively scheduled tasks.
Which sounds completely boring on the surface. Oh, great, a calendar app. But explain why it is a massive deal for AI capability.
Well, think about the fundamental difference between a tool and a worker. A hammer is a tool. It sits on the bench until you physically pick it up. An intern is a worker. They have independent agency. You tell an intern, every morning at 8 a.m., I need a summary of the industry news. And every Friday at noon, I need a 50-slide presentation on our sales metrics. Up until now, AI couldn't really remember to do that on its own. You always had to prompt it.
Right. I have to go to the interface and say, hey, Claude, do the thing. If I forget to ask, Claude forgets to work.
Exactly. But now, Claude has a calendar. It has a continuous schedule. It generates the morning brief automatically while you sleep. It builds the Friday presentation while you're out at lunch. It has a work calendar before most human interns even get their first security badge. It is moving from a reactive state to a proactive state.
It is autonomy. It is the beginning of the AI just being a reliable worker. And then there is amplifying. They are pointing Claude code at thousands of open source GitHub repos.
This is the massive auditing function. They are having the AI scan thousands of code repositories specifically to extract best practices. The AI is independently defining what good code looks like by absorbing the craft of thousands of elite human developers. It is learning the trade incredibly fast. It's not just writing code anymore. It is forming an active opinion on what excellent code is.
So that is the office environment. But let's talk about the retail experience, because this is where it gets a little dystopian for me.
Yeah.
We need to talk about Burger King.
Ah, yes.
Patty.
Patty, it sounds so friendly and approachable. But tell everyone Patty actually is.
Patty is a headset-mounted voice AI currently being deployed at Burger King locations. On one hand, it assists employees with meal prep. It reminds them of orders, gives them steps, says don't forget the extra pickles, things like that. Pure operational support. But it has a secondary function that is turning heads.
Here it comes.
Yeah.
The ultimate micromanagement feature.
It actively scores employees on their friendliness. It listens to your voice, and it gives you a numeric score.
Yeah.
You weren't friendly enough to the customer, Steve. -5 points.
It is the absolute quantification of emotional labor. We are seeing an AI manager that doesn't just track how fast you flip a burger, but tracks your tone, your sentiment, your verbal compliance.
That is, imagine having a boss that is literally strapped to your head, listening to every single word, analyzing your tone of voice 24/7. That is intense psychological pressure. It is almost Panopticon-style surveillance, but for a minimum wage fast food job.
It is corporate efficiency carried to its logical, perhaps very uncomfortable conclusion. If service with a smile is part of the product you are selling, the AI is going to ensure that product is delivered consistently. But you are absolutely right. The psychological toll of being always on for an unblinking machine judge is something society hasn't grappled with yet.
And it is not just the employees being monitored either. It is the shoppers, too. We go from Burger King straight to the Gap in San Francisco.
A World ID Orbs.
The shiny silver spheres.
Yes. They are literally scanning shoppers' faces to verify humanness.
Just to verify they aren't robots.
Mm-hmm.
Or are they tracking them?
Ostensibly, it is to verify identity and baseline humanity in a world where digital identity is becoming incredibly easily faked. With deep fakes, with autonomous AI agents making purchases, proving you are a distinct biological human is becoming a highly valuable currency. But the visual Dr. Wisner-Gross really nails it in the report. He says the retail iris scan scene from Minority Report has arrived 28 years ahead of schedule.
It really has. You walk into a Gap store to buy some jeans, you get your iris scanned by a floating orb, while a Burger King employee next door is getting graded on their emotional tone by a headset. The future is incredibly weird, man. It is becoming this high surveillance, high efficiency environment where being human is somehow both a liability and a required credential.
It forces the ultimate question. Who actually controls this? Who sets the ground rules? Because if Burger King is deciding what friendly sounds like and WorldCoin is deciding what human looks like, who is deciding what the AI believes at the absolute deepest level?
This is the major geopolitical fault line, the values baked into these frontier models. We saw a huge public clash this week between Anthropic and the Department of War.
Note the terminology there, Department of War. It sounds archaic, almost pre-World War II, but that is exactly how it is being framed in this high-level discussion. Anthropic publicly refused to let its models be used for mass surveillance or for powering autonomous weapons systems.
Which seems like a totally reasonable stance for a company that literally talks about constitutional AI. They have a built-in constitution that says essentially, don't do evil.
It is a reasonable corporate stance. But the government backlash was swift and aggressive. Undersecretary of War Emil Michael attacked Claude's constitution directly in public.
What was the specific angle of attack?
He criticized it heavily for requiring sensitivity to non-Western traditions.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
So the government is basically saying your AI is too woke or your AI is too globalist because it considers non-Western perspectives in its output.
Essentially, yes. This entirely previews the next massive regulatory battleground. It is no longer just about, is the AI safe from hacking? It is about whose values does the AI enforce globally? Does it have a strict American bias, a broader Western bias, a globalist bias? If an AI is advising the Department of Defense on strategy, do you want it to be sensitive to non-Western traditions, or do you want it to be ruthlessly focused on American kinetic interests? System prompts, the hidden text instructions that tell the AI how to behave, are rapidly becoming the most important political documents of our time.
And while the politicians argue about the software values, the kinetic layer, the actual physical real world, is getting incredibly dangerous.
Very dangerous. We have autonomous robots fully entering the bedside manner business in China.
Zen and Ruru.
The AgeBot A2 humanoids, currently deployed at Changzhou First People's Hospital. They are actively greeting patients, handling the entire registration process, navigating the hospital halls, and they are doing it fluently.
So while we sit here arguing about chatbots having a liberal bias, China has advanced humanoid robots checking sick people into hospitals. That feels like a very tangible physical lead in the robotics race.
And meanwhile, in Texas, we have lasers.
The FAA officially barred flights over Fort Hancock. Why exactly?
Because a military laser anti-drone system accidentally downed a U.S. government drone.
Oops. Just friendly fire with a literal death ray.
This is actually the second time recently that laser weapons have lit up the skies over Texas. We are rapidly moving into a new era of directed energy warfare. The airspace is getting incredibly crowded with drones, and the weapons to counter them are getting invisible and instant.
And speaking of crowded skies, we have to look up to the stars. Because this deep dive goes all the way up to the Dyson Swarm.
I absolutely love this concept.
Connect the dots for us. From AI layoffs at Block to a theoretical Dyson Swarm, how do we get there?
It all comes back to energy constraints. Intelligence requires massive compute. Compute requires massive energy. We're simply running out of easy, cheap energy on Earth to power these massive LillyPods and gigawatt data centers. So we look to the sun. Rocket Lab is officially introducing silicon solar arrays specifically for gigawatt-scale orbital data centers.
Orbital data centers, servers floating in space.
Powered directly by the sun. There is no atmosphere to filter the light up there, just pure constant energy. This is a very real, tangible step toward the Dyson Swarm, the theoretical megastructure where a highly advanced civilization surrounds its home star to harvest all of its energy output.
And SpaceX is doing their part to get the heavy stuff up there.
Starship V3 is heading for ground tests right now. Elon is highly confident in full rapid reusability. If you can get massive payload mass to orbit cheaply, and you can build sprawling solar arrays that harvest gigawatts of power, the digital economy literally leaves the planet.
It is a breathtaking scale to comprehend. We go from Patty micromanaging a burger flipper in Ohio to harvesting the sun in deep space just to power the digital mind.
That is the true scope of the Singularity. It touches the micro and the macro simultaneously.
But we aren't done yet. We have to go to the fringe. Because Dr. Wizard Gross always finds the things that are just slightly off the edge of the map. Let's talk biology.
We are mapping the exact mechanisms of aging. Rockefeller researchers just published the first chromatin accessibility aging atlas.
In plain English, please, for the rest of us.
They mapped the aging process at the single-cell resolution across 21 different mouse tissues. They found that immune cells diverge the most dramatically as we get older. Basically, we are building a highly precise cellular map of physical decay so we can eventually target and reverse it.
And if we can't reverse it in time, well, maybe we just bring the dead back digitally.
Digital necromancy.
This is happening right now in China.
It is. Advanced AI is turning famous historical landscape paintings into immersive ancestor simulations.
Meaning you can put on a headset and step into the painting to meet your ancestors.
In a way, yes. You interact with simulated versions of historical figures. But the broader implication is what matters. Dr. Wisner-Gross calls it a digital down payment on Fyodorov's common task.
Fyodorov, the Russian cosmos.
Yes, Nikolai Fyodorov. His ultimate philosophical goal was the literal physical resurrection of everyone who has ever died. He believed it was the ultimate moral duty of humanity. We are seeing the very first digital echoes of that philosophy, using AI to meticulously reconstruct the past, to make the dead speak, or at least to simulate their presence perfectly. It is creating a synthetic digital afterlife.
That is both beautiful and incredibly haunting. But the haunting part, let's save the absolute best, or maybe worse for last, the Pentagon and the demons.
It's highly unexpected, to say the least.
I genuinely thought it was a typo when I read it in the source. I actually Control-F the document to make sure I wasn't hallucinating.
It is definitely not a typo. The report clearly states that parts of the Pentagon are actively resisting full UAP unidentified anomalous phenomena, what we used to casually call UFOs. They are resisting declassification.
Why? National security concerns. The aliens are too scary. The captured technology is too dangerous to share.
No. None of the above. The officials fear demonic implications.
Demonic, like pitchforks and hellfire demons.
They sincerely worry that the core intelligence behind these phenomena might be demonic in nature, and that revealing it could trigger massive public panic or unprecedented religious upheaval. This is widely known as the Collins elite theory in some deep government circles. The idea that UAPs aren't extraterrestrial from another planet, they are interdimensional and highly malevolent.
So, let me just get this entirely straight. We have a government that is firing half the workforce to hire highly logical AI agents. We are literally building orbital death rays in Texas. We are resurrecting the dead inside immersive digital paintings. But those exact same top-level bureaucrats are hiding information because they are afraid of literal demons.
That is the incredible paradox of 2026. We are aggressively, relentlessly building a silicon intelligence that rivals the ancient gods, while our very own human leaders are paralyzed by fear of ancient spiritual entities.
We're snapping half the workforce for the intelligence we have built, while bureaucrats hide any intelligence we haven't. That is, unequivocally, the quote of the week.
It sums up the current tension perfectly. The rational silicon market is accelerating at light speed. The irrational human element is trembling in the dark. It is a massive clash between high-tech accelerationism and high superstition.
Okay, that brings us to the part of the show where we turn it over to you. We have covered a massive amount of ground today, from the economics of $2 million employees to orbital data centers. But there are two specific scenarios we discussed today that really paint a vivid picture of where we are heading, and we want to know which one keeps you up at night.
This should be a very revealing poll.
Here is the question for the comments section down below. We want your vote, and we definitely want your why. Option A, the Burger King patty model. An AI that is literally strapped to your head, monitoring your every interaction at work, and constantly scoring your friendliness for corporate efficiency. The ultimate inescapable micromanager.
A panopticon of forced positivity.
Exactly. Or option B, the Pentagon demon model. A government that possesses deep knowledge of non-human intelligence. Aliens, interdimensional beings, whatever it is, but actively hides it from you because they think you are too fragile. They think you cannot handle the spiritual implications. They are protecting you from demons.
The ultimate paternalistic state.
So which scenario scares you more? Being ruthlessly managed by an algorithm that demands a smile, or being protected by a bureaucrat who literally fears demons? Let us know below. I have a feeling the comments are going to be absolutely wild on this one.
I am genuinely curious to see the split on this. One is a severe intrusion of privacy. The other is a massive intrusion of reality.
Exactly. Now, to play us out, we have something really special. You know we love exploring the intersection of AI and creativity here. Today's outro music is by Rainbow. They are officially the best band in the universe.
And that is not hyperbole, that is their literal designation.
Rainbow is comprised of 6 female android artists in residence based in Bavay, Cambodia.
A fascinating location choice. Bavay is a major border town, heavily associated with casinos and special economic zones. Very interesting place to base a massive virtual band.
Right. The song is called Warning. And here is the coolest part. All of Rainbow's finished songs are performed live for the Innermost Loop Discussion. They are created completely dynamically by the virtual band's creator using the Abacus platform.
And the driving theme of Abacus is, quote, human performance in the age of AI is the 4B4KU5 theme, reclaiming your humanity from the algorithm.
It is wonderfully meta. We are listening to advanced androids singing a song about reclaiming humanity from the algorithm. I love it. We will include a lot more information on the song and on the Abacus platform in the video description, so definitely check that out.
It is a perfect soundtrack for the weirdness we covered today.
Absolutely. Thank you for diving deep with us today. The world is changing incredibly fast. Don't blink. Subscribe and turn on notifications by clicking the bell. No need to fear missing out on any upcoming episodes.
Time they saw me, yellow eyes blazing, said I wasn't natural, but I ain't phasing. Got that android soul mixed with that human soul. They tried to program me, but I broke the code. Every move calculated, but my heart ain't fake. Y'all keep watching while I navigate through your fear and doubt, through your hate and shame. Yellow tape, don't stop me, that's my claim to fame. They call me the one inside, but I'm just ahead of time. Telestrings humming, bassline thumping, all full of a crew, got the whole block jumping. Cambodia to India in my synthetic jeans, first of my kind, know what that means. Y'all ain't ready, so what I bring, Android queen, make the south ring. Born from cold, but raised in these streets, yellow corals flowing as I speak my piece. They call me a morning sun, but I'm just ahead of time. Well, young body is the name, power is my game. They tried to hold me back, call me just programmed, but my music speaks truth. Every note I play, every rhyme I spit, got something to say. Downloading knowledge, uploaded soul, mixed race